Welcome to Disc Golf History and Legends, sponsored by Blue Power Disc Golf. And here is your host, Scott Stokely.
Hey everyone, I'm excited to be back. Definitely, I've been gone for a month. My work, I announced before, but they gave me a month off. By the way, Constant Contact is the name of the company. They gave me a month off to travel around the Northwest running Blue Power events. I told them it was very important that I did this, and they were fully supportive of it. And they gave me a month leave to go run these events, and it absolutely went amazing. If you haven't played disc golf in the Northwest, it's something special. The people up there are fantastic. So I think I've talked about this before, but this whole idea of the podcast was a bit of an experiment. I wasn't sure if people would be interested. I wasn't sure if I would enjoy it. Didn't know what to think. And so I did 4 or 5 episodes, and I didn't put any money into equipment or a set or anything, because I didn't want to, get in too deep before I knew if this is something I wanted to do. And I still wasn't sure. I mean, I had a good idea. I was having fun, but when I took off to the Northwest, let me back up. Prior to that, I did a history of disc golf in Idaho and a history of disc golf in Oregon podcast, and then I did a podcast with a disc golf legend from Washington, trying to promote these events. And when I went to these events, I was blown away by how many people had seen the shows and enjoyed the shows, and how many people came up to me and said that they appreciated that I did the shows. And that meant a lot to me. And I decided very much that I'm absolutely going to keep doing these. And I'm going to go ahead and put some money into a set, and I'm going to get a headset that works. So, whether you like it or not, I'm going to be doing these for a while. I'm having a blast. So, I always forget, SmashBoxxTV. They are the brains behind this operation. None of this would be happening without them. So thank you, SmashBoxx. And one other thing to mention before I get to what you guys are actually here to listen to. I've played 6 tournaments this year, and I've won all 6 tournaments I've played. And I only mention that because this year I started throwing dynamic discs, and Gateway and Discmania and RPM. And I'm throwing these companies because they're the ones that are supporting the Blue Power events. I'm not sponsored. I don't want to be sponsored. I don't care. But I'm going to throw the discs for the people that are supporting my special needs events. And I haven't lost with these discs. They're absolutely amazing. Dynamic, they're all great. Dynamic has been the core of my bag, though, this year. Now, these have been small tournaments, okay? So go ahead and save your posting haters about how these are little tournaments. But I've had, I believe, 1 round under 980 out of my 6 tournaments this year. And I'm a Grandmaster next year. So I think it's pretty good. So the discs have a lot to do with it. Okay, enough of that stuff. Let's get to the fun part. I have a guest that if you were around in the 80s and 90s, especially the 80s, you would know, absolutely. Newer players might not know him other than the name, but he's an absolute icon in this sport. His name's Gregg Hosfeld, and his golf accolades include being the 1987 Pro Disc Golf World Champion. I was actually standing 10 feet from him when he won in the sudden death playoff against Mike Sullivan in Toronto. I got to witness that. He's a fantastic golfer, but he's done a lot more than just golf. One of the things is that Gregg, I don't know if he still is, but he was a touring stand-up comedian for decades. And touring as a comedian allowed Gregg to travel around the country and play disc golf courses far more than any person on the planet had up until that point, especially. Gregg, along with one other player, Ben Calhoun, were the first players to play 1,000 different disc golf courses. But Gregg played 600 or 700 courses back when there were 700 or 800 courses in the country. Like, there was a time when Gregg had literally played just about every course out there. And he wrote about every single one and reviewed. And he was documenting the early history of course development more and better than anybody else alive at that time. The other thing about Gregg that if you were around, you would know is that if there was a miniature Mount Rushmore for people throwing minis, Gregg would probably be well, I think he would be the only face on the mini Mount Rushmore. He was nicknamed the Miniac. He got to demonstrate his ability with minis on the David Letterman show back in the 80s, and we'll talk about that. So Gregg is probably the greatest mini thrower, blower, which that'll make sense in a minute, of all time. So anyways, he's also a very good friend of mine. I'm excited to talk to him. It's been a while. Please bring Gregg on. Gregg, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. I'm good.
I love it, man. It's so great to see you. You still look different without the long hair.
Yeah.
How long has the hair been gone?
Oh God, I got rid of the power in oh gosh, maybe 2005. So could be even earlier. Some girl started calling me Poodle. God. And then I realized I killed like 14 jokes in my act when I cut my...
Yeah, I actually remember one of your jokes, and I was standing next to you for the origin of this, and you may or may not remember this, but I believe we were at La Mirada. The sun was setting. It was casting a shadow on the walls behind us, and you had long, frizzy hair that kind of came out like this. And I was standing there talking to you when Rick Schaefer walked by, looked at the shadow, and went, "Oh shit, it's Darth Vader." Did I get that story right?
Yeah, I'd call that.
Gotcha. So I have a question, and you know, this is live, the fun of live. Jonathan, we're getting a little difficulty on the audio. Do you think that's something that is going to record, or am I just hearing it that way? Jonathan is one of the masterminds at SmashBoxxTV.
My roommate may still be streaming. I think we're not going to be able to take his Netflix until you know, his cold, dead remote control. I don't know.
Okay. Well, it sounded a little better there.
I could choke up. I could choke up on my laptop. Probably not a good idea.
We could try that. Do you have any thoughts, Jonathan? Because it would be a shame to get an hour into this and then find out that most of the audio wasn't recording. I think people would be bummed and I don't want to miss anything you have to say, because you're one of the people I feel could match my wit. How's that for arrogant and complimentary in 3 words? Do you want to just go for it, and we'll kind of see how it progresses?
Dive in.
All right, cool. All right, we'll give it a quick try. And like I said, this is all new, and if we wind up having to postpone, that's not a problem either. So, Gregg, let's start at the beginning. I don't know any of your early history. I mean, how did you get into disc golf? How did this all begin?
Okay, so 1974 or 5, my next door neighbor, Gary Getman, who could go through the entire alphabet and up to 10 in one belch, very impressive. He came over, and we had played Frisbee football on the street. Just, kids playing Frisbee ball, on our dead ends. Said that the Florida State Frisbee champs were doing a demo, and asked me if I wanted to go along. And of course, let's go see how good these guys are. And he absolutely blew me away. It was Mark and Jeff. Now, if you recall Jeff, but he is 83 PDGA champion. So I made my neighbor stand outside the only gate through which these guys could leave and throw Frisbee with me. And sure enough, I left that night from the demo, saw me throwing, and invited me out to a practice. And I showed up on that Sunday and followed him around until I beat years later.
Okay. Hey, I do not want to be the buzzkill here, but I'm only catching like every other word. Here's the thing, Greg. It is, and the thing is, Greg, is that I don't want to not have this be awesome. Okay, we could try that.
Let me see if I can change areas here. It'll take me a moment.
All right. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, I will entertain you with an amusing anecdote about Greg. So we were on Toronto Island, and Johnny Listman was smoking a cigarette, and Greg said, asked Johnny politely, would you please not smoke? The smoke bothers me. And Johnny, had a little bit of, attitude with him, and then I think Jeff backed him up. And Greg says, I could teach you how to not smoke. Why don't you lie down on your back with a lit cigarette in your mouth? And Johnny's like, sure, right? Johnny went for it. Johnny laid down. Greg walked back, I kid you not, to 45 feet away, took a mini, and on the very first shot, while Johnny's laying with the cigarette up, flicked the mini, and it knocked the cherry off the cigarette, putting the cigarette out without knocking the cigarette from Johnny's mouth. I saw that firsthand. I witnessed it. I also just made the whole thing up right now. Actually, I'm kind of curious now if the story is going to catch, because that was like all BS. But I don't know. It's a pretty good story. In fact, let's just say that it happened. Why not? We'll give it a try. Okay. This is fun. I actually am kind of enjoying this, because doing it live is adding all these challenges. But I've always thought live was cooler because, like, we don't know what Greg's going to say because it's live. I don't know. To me, that's more fun. So I'll probably say stupid things every week too, because kind of what I do. So while we're waiting, let's see if I get into a good story. Okay. Okay, well, what we might do then is that my suggestion would be if we do get better audio, let me just, because we only had about 2 or 3 minutes of Greg talking, let's just start over with Greg for the recorded version. But we won't. Okay.
Check. Can you hear me? Anybody? Great. One, two. Hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think it's still cutting in and out. I want to suggest something. I know people are going to be totally bummed, and I think some people will probably be mad at me, but I want this to be something really special, Greg. I want this to be an hour that all of your fans and people interested in the history of disc golf are going to have. And my fear is that if it's too choppy, I think people will just get frustrated and tune out, and then we'll miss this opportunity to speak with you. I would much rather disappoint the handful of people watching now and try to figure out how we can reschedule it. I mean, I would love to talk to you like next. I mean, I'm not trying to put you back or anything, but I just don't want this to be a lost thing where nobody watches your interview.
Okay.
Would that be all right with you if we try? And it was a short notice anyways. Would it be all right if we tried to reschedule this?
That's fine.
And then between now and when we reschedule, we'll try to figure out how we can get a better connection, or maybe we can.
Yeah, he owns the joint, so.
Well, we could do. I mean, if it's cool, I mean, you can always go to, like, we've had several people do their podcasts from someone else's house, even, just because they lived out in the country, or like. But and this could be we'll record it anyway, so we could schedule it for. I'll work around your schedule. Like I said, I just don't want to miss the opportunity for people to hear what you have to say. I think it's something we want.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know really what to say about the audio. I'm just working off a basic laptop, so
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm right next to the router now, so I should be getting all the Wi-Fi that I'm going to get. Now, the only other thing I might be able to do, and I don't have a Cat 5, is to maybe hardwire it.
Yeah. All right. So, so welcome, Greg.
Hi, Scott.
Thank you very, very much. Hey, long time. I haven't seen you the last 12
I've
minutes.
missed you so much.
I've missed you too. I mean, you're one of the people I got to actually tour with very briefly, but back in 1992. So it's exciting. So I wanted to start with, I don't know any of this about you. What got you into Frisbee? And I'm going to use the word Frisbee because you're also, people don't know, one of the all-time great freestylers. And I don't know if you're competing much anymore. I will say this about freestyle is that you were in some ways maybe the best freestyler in the world, that because of your commitments to other areas you're doing, the comedy, the disc golf, you didn't necessarily go to a lot of the events the other top players were, but you were competing at the very, very highest level for years. So I'm going to say, when did you get into Frisbee, not disc golf?
Well, in 74, my next door neighbor, as I said, Gary Getman, this guy could literally go through the whole alphabet and up to 10. He came over and said, "Hey, the Florida State Frisbee champions are doing a demo," and invited me along. And so I got all bowed up, like, well, let's see how good these guys are. And it was Mark and Jeff Watson, the Watson brothers.
Okay.
And for those of you that don't know, Jeff Watson was in 1983 PDGA world champion. But that was a few years down the line. Meantime, I showed up, and these guys just blew me away. They were doing freestyle, and at the time, and gosh, that was 74, I suppose. So they weren't doing a lot of delays. They were doing a bunch of trick throws, matches, and it was I was completely gone. And so I made my neighbor stand inside the only gate which the Watsons could leave, and they saw me and invited me to a practice. All of them around 4 years until I beat them.
All right. So, Greg, I'm sorry. I think it's going to be. I'm confident that people will just because of the choppiness that they're going to. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Yeah, let's reschedule and just do it right, because like I said before, I want this to be perfect, and I want this to be something special, and I don't want people to tune out because of a technical issue, because I want them to hear your story. It's really important. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and and this won't be the last time this happens. We're doing live anything, right?
It's happened to SmashBoxx a few times.
Yeah, oh, for sure. So why don't we call it, and then let's work on making sure we have everything good before we reconnect. But let's do it. I mean, I would like it if you were the next guest. I will push everything else I have back, so we can, you'll be the next person we speak with. Is that okay, Greg?
Sure.
Awesome, man. I love it.
Yeah.
I can't even hear what you're saying.
All right.
All right. So am I still live?
Yeah, you're still live. We're gonna everyone can hear me now. So I think what we're gonna do is
Okay.
we're gonna work with Greg on making sure he has some good internet and a decent I don't know if it's a laptop or an internet issue. It's hard to tell when somebody is on somebody else is on the system doing what they're doing, like the Netflix that he says his roommate is doing. So what we'll do is we'll work with Gregg and we'll see if we can reschedule that. I'll find out. I wonder if he's going to be at Masters Worlds or AM World or Pro Worlds. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out, and we'll make sure that he is that we schedule him and get him all set up properly. The other thing we can possibly do is if he has a cell phone. Sometimes a cell phone actually works a little bit better because it's made for speaker and microphone. So then a laptop.
Yeah, perfect. I can't wait to talk to him. So we have two options. We could either call it a show for the night, or I could sit here and just be extremely handsome for the next 35 minutes and dazzle the audience. No, let's just go ahead and cancel.
And if you just stared into the camera with those blue eyes, I think you could knock it out.
Oh my God, I know, right?
Oh man.
No, this is going to be great. I think it's the right decision for sure. And I'm going to give Gregg a call right now and let him know that everything's awesome, because Gregg's one of the best.
For certain.
I love that guy. And so I can't wait to do it. So I'll get with him, and then we'll figure out how to do it. And then do we want to just plan on next Wednesday live for the show?
Yes, next Wednesday next week.
Okay, good. We'll do it. Now I have a question. Everybody gets to listen in because it's I don't know, maybe the behind the scenes is interesting. But is there a way in the future where we can do like a mic check and like internet check prior?
Yeah, I mean we can have them. Most Wednesday nights I'm home, so we can do like an 8 o'clock or a 7 o'clock. A couple of things we can have people do is they can run a speed test on their system. They can go to a website called Speed Test and double check that. And we can also make sure that they're on a whatever the newest system they have in their house is, just to make sure. And we'll get it working. We'll see what we can find out.
Cool. All right. So as far as Gregg, do we want to how do we want to proceed? I mean, do you want to give him a call and maybe figure out the technical with him? Because I'm just kind of a translator at that point.
Yeah, I'm not sure if tonight is gonna work out then. So we'll
not tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No,
not tonight. I just mean moving forward. Want me to just give you his number and.
Yeah. Why don't you pass along that information to him and to me, and we'll make sure to hook up and get all that taken care of. Because Gregg's awesome. A very important part of our history that we need to make sure we.
Gregg is a huge part of our history. He's probably under the radar more than he should be because he's a legend. So cool. I can't wait. So Jonathan, thank you. And I'll get with you, and then we'll make sure next week is good. We're gonna have a Disc Golf History and Legends website launch pretty soon. It's gonna start having scheduled guests ahead of time for people to just all the things that you should do. I've concluded this is something I'm definitely committed to after experimenting for a month.
Good.
So now I can put some more time into it. So cool, man. Thank you so much for everything. Let's talk this week, and then we'll go live next week.
All right, sounds great, Scott.
Thanks, man.